Hi, Njuguna from Westlands, Lois from Busia. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. I see Ruben from Nakuru, Kiambu, Rose from Kiambu. Welcome, everyone. Winfred, please, please, everyone, make sure that your microphones are off so we can have an insightful conversation and very clear conversation. Hi, Aileen from Kakamega. Welcome. I can see we're joining from all over the country. Welcome. Anthony from Nairobi. T Judy from Nairobi, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Frida Sankale from Masai Mara. Ooh, nice. Samuel from Kirinyaga. Looks like we have quite a number of investors from all over. Huh? We're so excited you're here. Esther from Rwanda. Love that. Philip. Mary Hope from Achakos. Welcome, everyone. I really hope that you have your, tough questions ready, because we have the right people here for that. Millicent from Malindi. Oh, I can see my neighbor here. Welcome. We will be starting in the next about 3 minutes. Rose from Qatar. Welcome, everyone. Please, if you can also let us know what you're looking forward to in this session. What do you want to achieve, or what would you love? Usha from Uganda, welcome. Let us know. Lydia from Nairobi. Welcome, welcome. Let us know in the chat box what you're looking forward to today, why you're here. Welcome, Udoni. Oh, awesome. Samuel says he'd love to know about securing wealth for his kids. I love that, Samuel. Becky, welcome, Becky. Anyone else? Let us know why you're here. Welcome, Brenda, Becky, Rose. We're about to get started. We're just waiting for a few more people to join. Becky would love to know more about life insurance. You are in the right place, Becky. Let us know what you're looking forward to in this session. Because if you're here, most probably you're already in your investment journey or about to get started in your investment journey. So would love to know what you want to achieve by the end of this webinar. So Purity says she's looking forward to learn about whole life assurance. Again, right place. Murigi Rose, how wealth protection changes with age or career stage. Love that. Beverly would love to learn about setting up a living trust. We'll see if we're going to touch on that in this session, or we may have to have another session regarding that. You'd like to know how to create and sustain the wealth. Yes, we need to make sure that the wealth we are growing, we can be able to maintain it. So welcome, everybody. All these questions are going to be catered. We're going to cater to all these questions during this webinar. So yes, please, how to link life insurance with trust funds. Yes, we will definitely discuss that. Yeah. How to get started with creating and protecting wealth. Good stuff, good stuff. I love how you are all thinking on a Saturday morning. Congratulations for being here. Let us know. Uh, Let us know, let us know. We're going to get started in a bit. So maybe I've like the last 2, 3 people to tell us why they're here before I get started. Because everybody else, how to transfer assets to a trust. Ooh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for that, David. Maybe 2 more people to tell us why they're here before we get started with the conversation. You'd love to finally make the decision to take a life insurance as an aviator. Ooh, that is a very hot one. Yeah. Silas, I hope you're keeping track of those questions because those are your questions. Real calculations on how life insurance works. Awesome. How to create wealth from a young age from Nefi. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for those questions because we're going to address everything today. Majority of the questions you asked. Eunice has said she'd love to learn about insurance and how to protect herself and secure her child's future. Awesome. Good stuff. So thank you everyone for being here. As I said, you sacrificing your Saturday morning to be at this webinar to learn about protection as an investor is something that we do not take for granted. And this is a conversation we've been meaning to have because it's something that we realize there's a lot of gaps, especially for people who are in the investment journey or are looking into the investment journey. Insurance has been one of those things which has not been very clear, or we realize that the industry has not been very transparent. That is why we have this session today to just make sure that by the time you're leaving this room, all your questions have been answered. A lot of us are currently in our investment journey. We are maybe investing in our businesses or in specific assets, whether it's property, the stock market, bonds. We talk a lot about financial freedom. But one thing we have realized is a lot of people don't think about the protecting what it is that you're building. Think about it. Even if you're building a house, it is so important to make sure that you have a gate around that house or at least some level of security. And all of us are in this financial journey. And the one example I like to use is if you're going to take a road trip to Masai Mara, are you going to take that road trip with your car without a spare tire? The biggest focus is on us enjoying the journey. It's not about, oh, will I go get a puncture? Will I get problems on the road? My job is to just focus on enjoying the trip and getting to my destination. But I have a backup plan just in case. So I don't have to turn back to Nairobi to go get a tire, or I have to wait by the side of the road so that people can come and help me. So my job is just to make sure that I have taken care of my trip. And the reason why we're also having this conversation today is a lot of us are focusing on all the right assets. Yes, as I said, property, the stock market. But the one asset we're forgetting is ourselves. We are actually the biggest assets. And what is very interesting is we have risk management strategies for all our investment portfolios, but we don't have one for ourselves. We are the people who are holding the system together. So we need to make sure that there's some level of continuity through, as I said, our protection portfolio to make sure that we can even take bigger risks in investment. So this conversation today is not a deaf conversation, it's not a scary conversation. The biggest question we're asking today is, how can I add life insurance into my toolbox to make sure that this journey is not interrupted? Or to just make sure that this journey is going to be as smooth as possible. Because think about it, you're building your wealth, and then imagine something keeps on dipping, you will not grow, right? And we're going to focus on the uncomfortable gap between wealth building and wealth continuity and protection. So for those joining us here for the first time, my name is Mnyindo, and I am the founder of La Risk Africa, where we focus on the protection and preservation of family wealth. And I have spent over a decade in this journey, working in the insurance and protection industry, helping families structure financial protection and legacy plans. And the relationship between me and life insurance is not only professional, but also very deeply personal, because I am a beneficiary of life insurance. And if I didn't have life insurance, the Risk Africa would not exist. So it's a continuity journey, and also to be able to build my business, which we will touch on maybe later. And the truth about the work that I do today, building the risk, is simply about protection. And the reason why we're here is because of that. It gave my family stability at a time when everything was uncertain. Yeah. And today we have two amazing people with me who I'd love to introduce so that we can start the conversation. So I'm going to start with Ivy, who is a friend of mine, someone who I've done business with. She is, let me tell you, just as I'd mentioned, we talk a lot about protection because Ivy, For those people, I know everybody who's here must know Ivy, and we know that she has taken us down her journey. I've been following Ivy since 2020. I think I'm a stalker. Yeah, and I love that she's been able to take us down her journey. She's been so transparent, so open, and I love the way she breaks things down in a way that is simple, just through her journey, right? And the reason why we have Ivy today is because we would love to see her journey, but also now from a protection perspective. Because yes, she is building wealth, but also what is she doing when it comes to overall wealth protection and liquidity planning so that that portfolio that she shared to us on Instagram is not going to be interrupted. I love your portfolio, Ivy. Yeah. So we are going to look at how life insurance and protection in general is supporting her as an investor and also as a mother. And another thing is we know Ivy has been very open that she has gone through some not very interesting yeah experience with the insurance industry. So she was going to open up to us regarding that, and then we're going to put the industry here in the spotlight so they can tell us what is going on and what can we do differently. So thank you so much, Ivy, for joining us. I am so excited to have you here. And yeah, we're going to go deeper in Ivy's journey in shortly. And I wanted us to introduce Silas, yeah, the OG in this industry. He's been here for 2 decades. I've been here for 1 decade. He's been here for 2 decades. So he has seen it all when it comes to protection. And I think most of the time when we think about protection, we think about the premiums, but nobody ever thinks about what actually happens behind the scenes, right? Families who have their claims paid, continuation because of these protection plans. So today, what we're trying to do and why Silas is here as a representative of Prudential is to be able to answer these tough questions. And just to touch on something small, my journey with Prudential started sometime like over 5 years ago when Prudential is one of our partners. And at that time, I was looking for a solution for our investor clients because a lot of them had been banned by a lot of products in the market. So I was looking for something particular and nobody had what I was looking for. So Prudential really, really came through. That is why we are having this conversation today. So yes, we're looking forward to, just getting ahead with this conversation. And please, we're going to also make sure that this is interactive. Make sure that you have your questions written down. We're going to throw them to Silas. Yeah. Today, if you have any issues with people from the insurance industry, today is the day to address it. Ivy, how are you?
Marianne, good
Yes.
morning. Hi,
Good
Silas.
morning.
I'm
Good
good. I'm very,
morning.
very good. Thank you so much for having me. It's so weird being on this of such
Good.
conversations. I usually moderate, so it's so weird, but
Exactly.
it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. I'm good. I'm
Thank you. Thank you.
excited.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Ivy, and also now being here today and to take us down your journey. I've been really excited. This is something I know we've been talking about, and now it's finally happening.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing what it is you opened that door just a bit to just let us know what is happening there in just Ivy's journey. So I'd like to just get started, Ivy, and I want you to just paint a picture for us, reality of being an investor and a mother. When you think about the future you are building for yourself, because the reason why you're investing is because there's a particular picture you have in mind for yourself and your family, right? What part of this future feels like the biggest responsibility on your shoulders? What is that one thing that keeps you up at night as an investor? Because we do understand that we are in our building journey, but we do understand also, as I said, you are your biggest asset and you are responsible for, yes, your investment portfolio, but you're also responsible as a mother to your babies. What is the one thing that, feels like the biggest responsibility at this point?
Good question. I've seen someone saying my audio is not clear. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Very good, fine. Okay, good question. Before I answer any questions, I need to put a few pointers.
Awesome.
Um, One, I'm not an insurance expert. Two, I'm not an investment expert. Three, this is education only, not financial advice. I am a very emotional person and I've dealt with emotion throughout my money journey. And now, of course, with the motherhood journey, to answer your question, I would say I love the analogy you gave about going on a trip and making sure you're covered by having a spare tire. I always think about the money I am yet to make or the
Ah,
wealth I'm yet to make because with me, between me and my two children, I am the money. I am the
yes,
money. If anything were to happen today,
yes,
yes, there's
yes.
cuts that I've already made, but it cuts short the potential of the
Yeah.
next 20 to 30 years. And which is where I guess insurance comes in. So sometimes, and I started by saying I'm emotional so that I could also follow it with us emotional people need to be able to quantify our feelings.
Yes.
Another fear I have is have I quantified that
Mm.
feeling of responsibility well into 20, 30, 40 years from now to know that the insurance I have has covered me
Yes.
till I'm 60, has covered my kids till I'm 60. Or if I die today, anything happens today, or if I can't earn an income today, it's covered my kids till they're able to go to college, you know? So the biggest responsibility is quantifying that future earning potential that I may miss. And then my girls, and they're so cute. I just want the best for them, man. I want the best
They
for them.
truly are. They truly are. Thank you. Thank you for that, Ivy. And I love how you brought that up because the one thing a lot of us never think about is all of us have an economic value. There's a certain amount of money we are going to make over a lifetime. And the one thing we never think about is, we have this thing in our mind that we're going to live till our 80s, our 90s. And there is the economic value that is supposed to be accumulated up to that point. And there is people, and especially even for me, just like you have to the children who are dependent on you, what happens if that is cut short? Will they still be able to live their lifestyle? You're taking them to beautiful trips, they're going to a specific school, but what happens in the case now that economic value is stopped, maybe because, yes, of a death, or even could be a severe illness, right? Even if it was to pause at that point in time. So, yes, thank you so much for that, Ivy. That has come out extremely clearly. And I hope that the questions that I'm asking Ivy are things which you are also going to reflect on a personal level, so that even as you're making this decision, you're coming from a place of, okay, I understand my why and my responsibilities. And this now takes me to the next question, Ivy. Now, when we're talking about building wealth and protecting wealth, because you have really been taking us through your building wealth journey. I still remember from the time you bought your property. I remember when you showed us your title deed. Years
Wow.
ago. I still
Wow.
remember.
Wow, that's crazy.
That is
Okay,
such a long time
I need
ago,
to
but
go
I
check
still
on it.
remember.
It's probably flooded. Jesus, I need to
I
go check on
told
my property.
I told you I told you I'm a stalker.
It's okay. It's okay. Please talk away. That's good stalking.
So people know you as someone who is very intentional about building your wealth, and you have taken us down that journey with you, right? So you're investing, you're raising your twins, but wealth building also comes with some level of risk.
Yeah.
At what point in your journey, your investment journey, did you start thinking about protection, like seriously? And what triggered you to take a life cover on yourself?
I mean, if we're being honest and open and authentic, it's my mom who introduced me to life covers years ago. Years ago. When I just got my first job, and she explained that she had been taking it for some years. I even had to call her the other day when I was talking about when I was inviting people to this webinar with Prudential, because I was like, Mom, do you remember you did this for me when I was around 21? What exactly did you know? We've both forgotten. But it's my mom who introduced me to the aspect of wealth protection, but specifically income protection through life insurance. And I guess since then, the other trigger for me was when I had my children. That was the other trigger that made me realize, okay, my mom imparted some knowledge in me, and I'd love to pass it along to my children by making sure that I not only educate them when it comes to life cover, but I take it for them. So right now I do two premiums at the same time monthly. I've done it since, I think since, of course, before they were born. Yeah, yeah, something to what was the question? Before I answer my own things, what exactly was the
No
question?
worries. I just asked you what triggered you to start your protection journey
Yeah,
and getting
yeah,
a life
yeah.
cover. So you're good. You're good,
But
Ivy.
my mom and
Yeah.
those kids, because no one prepares you, no one will ever prepares you for multiple bills at the same time. Literally, when you go to hospital, it's baby
Yes.
one, baby two. School fees, baby one, baby two. Clothes, baby one, baby two. So I just realized I have double the risk. So life
Yes.
insurance is pretty handy. Yeah.
That makes so much sense, Ivy. And just as you said, and one thing I'm picking from you is even having the protection conversation has to be a family thing. And it's also a conversation we have to have amongst our friends. Because again, I remember there's a few days ago, I just asked a question. Like right now, if today someone brought me two children, I don't know what I'm gonna do with two extra children. If something, maybe a friend of mine got into a coma or passed away and chose me as the guardian of the children. Yeah. So now these are two extra mouths to feed. But what I have observed is a lot of us are having a lot of conversations around SACCOs, our investments, bonds, but we're not having real life conversations of, okay, I truly appreciate that you named me godmother of your kids, but if your kids come to my house, do I have enough money to take them to the same school that you're taking them to? Because we're just trying to remove that level of awkwardness that maybe the resources that I have to be split maybe four ways, and I might have to now change the my children's school. So this is a reality in life, and I love that the person who introduced you to this conversation is your mother. So your mom was so woke. Yeah, she was
Mhm.
definitely ahead of her time because majority of people, they maybe got to know about insurance because an agent came to the office
Yeah.
and they guilt
That's when
trip
I got
you.
to learn about,
Exactly.
that's when I
This is
got
now
traumatized. My mom
yes.
can do something very well, but that's when I got traumatized. But yeah. It's always been,
Yeah.
growing up privileged means that I took part in some certain financial conversations and some certain financial decisions in the family. And it's amazing that my folks did that for me. I can't, like, it's amazing. Yeah.
I love that. And it means then you just have to definitely be better also for your children. There's what it is that you've learned, and now you have even more knowledge than what it is that maybe you could have learned at that point, and now passing it over. And just as you said, how it is that you were introduced into life cover, I want us to address the elephant in the room. Yeah. I think this is a point where both of us connected because a lot of investors who came my way are people who have been burned by insurance. Yeah. It's given us a very bad reputation until they just call us Nyinyi watu wa insurance. Eh? They don't pick up our calls. So this now takes me to the next question, because this is something I know we have spoken about over and over again, and I'd like to now bring the audience into now this part of your journey, of your protection journey and your insurance journey. So you've spoken about the difficult experience that you've had with a life policy earlier on in your journey, where you felt that it was missold. And my question to you is, first of all, maybe you can explain to us how that happened, because I realized it's similar across. And then also now you can take us through, maybe you can just let us know what did the experience teach you about how people should approach protection products. Because it's interesting how we go out of our way to do, I don't know if people do their due diligence with their investments. I think people do more due diligence with their investments compared to now sitting down when it comes to insurance. So maybe you can let us know, you can just explain briefly your journey, how you are missold, how you got there, and then what did the experience teach you around how you should approach protection products today.
I think in hindsight, I literally cannot blame the agent. I can't blame the insurance company. I could only blame myself, because I was putting my money somewhere that I didn't understand. And you just hear insurance. And then they used to come to our offices or open plan offices. So you see me in my 20s, I'm seeing the older people buying this thing called insurance. And I feel like I'm cool and I want to be with it and I want to be mature and also do the mature thing and buy insurance. I don't want to be left behind. So you see, there's no one really to blame other than myself. So I have forgiven myself for my past mistakes. I've forgiven that agent who came to me as a young girl and threatened me with future children, and sold me threats and fear. But I've forgiven them and I've forgiven myself. And the key lesson, as you said, and because you're the one who's an expert, or maybe even Silas will talk about this, yeah, other than other than due diligence on like the finance company, I mean, sorry, the insurance institution or the agent or whatever, it's starting with understanding your why. I didn't know why I was
Mm.
buying that insurance in the first place. So that's the first mistake I made. That's why they were able to sell me anything because I didn't have a solid why. Why do you need this?
Yeah.
The other thing was I had no solid budget. I didn't know the amount of money I spend every month to
Mm.
know that this is what I can afford for a premium. So I'm there stressed every month trying to pay a premium that I can't afford because I didn't budget. I didn't have a solid budget. Yeah. And then at the time, I think on the institution, I just bought the biggest name. I never
Yes.
went back to see whether they pay their claims.
Mm.
I never went back to see anything. It's just the name that was sold to me is all I ran with. And then over and above that, actually going back to budget,
Mm.
that one agent is the only person I bought. I didn't go and check any other quotes from
Mm.
any other company. And it's so important. You can't just take it for face value. It's because it's such a big
Yeah.
decision that you're making, especially if you're talking about life insurance, whether it's whole life or term life. It's such a heavy decision. I wish I asked for more quotes because later is when I realized, oh my God, it's so expensive. What am I truly doing here? You know? And
Yes.
then back then we didn't have social media, but nowadays in the age of social media, granted you have to pick what people say on social media with, you take it with a pinch of salt. But I would go and see what what people are saying about this particular organization. I would. Is it good? Is it bad? And what the experts are saying as well. Is this good? Is this bad? You know? Yeah, I think it taught me to understand myself a bit more. And it
Yeah.
taught me to slow down because they come, I'll never forget. He said, he kept calling me, that man, he kept calling me.
Yeah.
Um, and I wish I knew at the time. I don't have to sign immediately. Like you have time. Take your time. It's like such a contract. Take your time. You don't have to sign it
Yeah.
immediately. So many lessons. So
Oh my.
many lessons, man.
Yeah.
That's what
Oh
I'll
my
say.
goodness.
Ah,
We talk about this all the time, but every single time it almost sounds new. But what is very interesting, so many people have gone through a similar experience. It's almost like there is what do you call this? There's a school that they went to be able to sell these products. So we're going to go in and ask Silas a question right now. But what you've said is also very, very important. Is like sometimes we have to take the blame away also from the agent because at the end of the day, it is our financial journey. So it also has to come upon us to go and seek the knowledge because what is also happening, yes, there is now this person pressuring us, but there's also the fact that there's a knowledge gap because there's lack of information out there and it's been pretty opaque when it comes to now just conversations on life insurance in general. This is why now I need to throw this question to Silas. Yes, Silas, you're on the hot seat. You've heard of Ivy's experience. I also personally, when I started my first job, someone came and tried to sell me an insurance plan. And I had, okay, for me, I've always been a numbers person. And as much as at that time I didn't understand, I sat him down and was like, boss, Ebu, let's do the numbers. So you're telling me I'm going to put in this. What exactly am I getting out? I'm telling you, it was like literally garbage in, garbage out. Like whatever it is that was coming in was what was going to be coming out. So I told him, why am I going to be locking my money for 15 years if I'm going to get the exact same amount that has come out? Yeah. So to me, I
Mm.
just take it as like, first of all, I'm earning such a small salary. I'm not going to take something that is not making sense. So Ivy's experience is something many people quietly relate to. And sometimes people buy policies without fully understanding what they're getting themselves into. So, from your perspective, especially as someone who's been in the industry for 2 decades, I'm sure you've had a lot of these stories. It's not something that
Yeah.
is new to you. What are the key things that someone should actually understand before committing to a life insurance policy?
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Marianne. Great to see you, Ivy. So I see and I hear a lot of times Ivy giving props to the parents, to the mom, having shared with her about insurance. Let me give you your flowers now. You are a good child because you listened. I went through the same journey. Well, let's just say I was not as receptive to the information as you are. But then again, here I am, 20 years down the line. So, what are some of the things that I think someone should be looking out for before buying an insurance policy? So, first, for me, would be you need to understand what are you solving for? What is the policy solving for? I think for me that's a very critical thing for you to consider, because at the very core, life insurance is just about protecting income and preserving stability. At the very core, just preserving your income and stability. So your income tends to fund everything. Your income tends to fund everything. And that is your family, your investments, your lifestyle, those goals that you have, the ambitions that you have. So basically, life insurance just ensures that if life takes an unfortunate turn, then it's just a bump in the journey, but progress is not lost. So you need to be very clear what the policy is solving for. Then the second thing is, then how long will the protection last? So for what period of time are you covered? So some policies will cover you for a defined short period of time, and then others will cover you and your family for the rest of their lives. So you need to be very clear, because that is also tied to what you are solving for. Because the need, is it short term, is it long term? So is it a lifetime kind of a need? And I think somewhere we'll get into it. And then third is what the policy will and will not pay for. What the policy will and will not pay for. We focus more on what I'm getting at the end of the day, and I can't blame you or anyone for that. But it's also good to be very clear in terms of what will this policy not, what doesn't it take care of? And this includes benefits, the limits, and the exclusions. You need to have clarity. One of the things that Ivy has brought out, and I like about it, is that the understanding that, by the way, this is not a sprint. I need to take time to ask questions, to do a bit of my research, to understand, so that everything is clear from the get-go as you begin, as you commit. So when these 3 points are clear, then you avoid a lot of disappointment later. And I like to say that life cover works best when it's understood and not rushed. Yeah.
I love that, Silas. So what you're also letting us know is for us to just take our time. Don't let anybody pressure you or manipulate you, because sometimes it does feel like a manipulation into you buying a product that you don't fully understand. And the one thing which I will also let everybody know, because I have done a lot of policy reviews as well, is don't buy it because someone is your family member or your friend. Because, because what is happening, the biggest question I would like you to ask yourself, so if this person was not my friend or we had a fallout, does this product still make sense for me and my overall goals? Because sometimes life does happen. And yes, I bought this to support, because majority of people have come in to support their friends, their relatives, and then when they realize that this product is not working for them, that is actually a cause for a fallout. So don't ever feel pressured, or don't buy just because someone has forced you to. So go back to your numbers. You understand your family dynamics best. You understand your numbers best. So you ask yourself, why am I doing this? And then now you go and now do a bit of your research to see what makes sense for you in this particular moment, and based on right now, your journey now and your future, so that when you're making a decision now, you're not going to regret it maybe later. But I love how Ivy has put it, that it was a lesson. At that time, she didn't have maybe all the knowledge, or she made a decision because of how it is that she saw people also buying life cover in her office. But now later on, she realizes this thing was not for me. Maybe the cover they bought was working for them, but for Ivy's case, it was something that did not necessarily help her out. And I think the worst thing, especially when it comes to life insurance, because for people who have had it, you can just not wake up and cancel it just like that. So you can imagine it's 3 years down the line. You've taken a policy that now you're finding out this thing is not making sense. Time has gone and premiums are higher. So take your time. It's rather taking that 1 week to just sit down with this thing, to just make sure that, okay, this is something that I want and I'm not going to regret it 5 years, 10 years down the line, because it serves a purpose. Compared to you make a decision now because you feel rushed, and then 5 years down the line, you are like, yo, yeah, this is not looking good. Okay. And I think this now takes me to the next question, which I'm going to ask Ivy, because we've been speaking about our whys, and you've been very clear about now your investment journey and your babies. And I want us to look at now from an investor lens, as someone who thinks about, money through the lens of risk and return and long-term strategy, right? How do you think about life cover in that framework? So I'm going to share maybe mine so that you can understand how to maybe answer that question. For me, the reason why I do take a protection plan is not because I fear death, because I know that is something that is going to definitely happen one day. But the reason why I take it is to give me a pass, or to give me um the permission to take even more risk in my investment journey and in my business. Because if I know my what ifs have been taken care of, it frees up my mental real estate. I feel like I can even do so much more in my business. I do crazy things when it comes to investments and and business in general, because I know my kids are taken care of. I don't want to feel that my children are stopping me from making specific decisions or taking risk that could eventually pay out. So my biggest why is definitely, yes, to take care and ensure that my children have some level of continuity. But my own personal why, my selfish why, is because I want to be able to take more risks in my business and in my investments without worrying what will tomorrow bring. So I'd like to know maybe what is your selfless why and what is your selfish why for taking out a life cover?
And like you may fear death, oh God. Oh, I fear death so much. I think about it all the time. I'm always having intrusive thoughts about me falling in the bathroom and dying, and then having my kids having to put out a pay bill to bury me. Oh my God, you know? So I've put it, I have life insurance to also save, to attempt to save face in case of anything. You know, it's not something that we like to talk about. And I'm here to be as honest as possible. Um, I don't want to leave my children or my family with the burden of trying to figure out what would happen if anything were to, what to happen to me. So I want to be able to take care of that, myself. And if it's something that we learned in when we're trying to figure out financial literacy, it's hedging against risk, against market volatility, against that type of thing. So for me, I see insurance as hedging against what it is that you said, a duration risk, and I always think today, you see, sometimes we say life is long, but life can be short, so to help me mitigate what could happen if I've not thought about if the duration of me generating and earning income for future is affected. That is that's the role life insurance plays in that entire scheme of things. So the selfless thing is that I want to save face, and man, but if anything happens and a pay bill is put out, you guys have to contribute. But I'm trying to work to make sure, I have sorted that myself. And then, of course, the risk that my duration on this earth can be cut short. Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I think about. Yeah.
I love.
It's elongating my life long before I'm gone, because my money is elongated in a sense. You get what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get it, because how I look at it and what it is that I also keep on saying is life cover is almost like a financial clone of yourself. Because literally, if you exit today, there's something that is coming in to take over when it comes to your income. Like literally, you are still alive, you're still providing. It's just that now I cannot really talk to Ivy anymore, but her man is doing the talking, right? And her children's lives have not been interrupted in any way. Because I think if we think about it practically, is I want to know that I am providing, like next term, school fees is due. If I'm to fall down dead today, who's paying that school fees? Who's going to raise, say, 500 or 300,000 to pay school fees for my kids? So it means that if you have a life,
Yeah? Afadhali ndogo kama hii.
sorry, Davis, sorry. Yes. So what it is that I want to know is, in case that now today I was not there, like next term the school fees is still paid without a lot of back and forth, because we do understand that sometimes having to access your investments might not be possible. It has to go through the long process of the courts to be able, for one to be able to have access. But we want to ensure minimal interruption, especially for anybody here who has children between the age of 0 under 18. Yeah. Just know that they are fully dependent on you and your income in case of anything happening. Yeah. There has to be a continuity plan, especially if you're the only parent or you're the main breadwinner of that household. If you have no plan, it means your children are going to be confused. And if there's any interruption when a child is still young, it means it will affect them later. So the reason why we're also taking these things is just to ensure that our children have the best lives possible. And if we can do, we can protect them and just make sure that there's minimal interruption in their lives, then why not? Right. So it's so interesting how we all have different whys. So Ivy said she's scared of death. For me, I'm just like, hey, I've already gone through a near-death experience. I mean, life is life. And what's the worst that can happen? But it's so interesting how all of us have different whys and we look at everything from a different perspective. But it's so, so important, again, to look at how it fits in your overall plan. Maybe Silas can explain to us just how this insurance works, this life insurance, especially at this point in time. You've spoken about the one that is going to be there for the rest of your life, because we want to make sure that even as we are in our journey, because remember, when we get started, maybe I started when I was single and just started off in my career. I was employed, and then things change. I got married, and then some people end up going through a divorce or their spouses passing away, then remarriage. So what is that one policy that can make sure that everything is taken care of no matter what stage I am in life, no matter what part of maybe my career or my business it is that I am in life? So maybe you can let us know what that policy looks like. And in this particular conversation, the pro-life.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. We say that the pro-life is a type of a whole life cover that you really never outgrow. It's a protection that you cannot outgrow. It just grows with you depending on the different seasons of your life that you're in. So the best analogy I like to give whenever I'm having conversations around a life cover is I like to let me talk about myself because it's easier. I at least I know myself. I've got a family and I've got many kids who depend on me financially and other people who depend on me financially. And we will not judge how many kids I have, but just know I have
Silas,
several.
I was going to ask you how many kids. The way you're making it, it's like, so you have 10 children in this economy. Silas,
That's the reason why I said no judgment, right? So now, the best analogy I like to give for someone who's family oriented, or even someone who's younger and has got people who depend on them financially, is that you are like an ATM, right? You're like an ATM machine. So anytime they need money, they come, they bonyeza the PIN number, they get money for milk, they get money for rent, for bills. So you are an ATM, and every time you go to work, consider it's like those guys who do cash in transit, they come fund you up and then they go home and then they press again, they get money. Now, if you walk into an ATM today and you try to get cash out and it's broken, what do? You look for the next one, right? So you just leave that street, you go look for the next one, you walk in and you get cash. Now, if today I'm not there, I don't think my wife has got the luxury to walk to my neighbor's house and put a PIN number to get money. So that's what a life cover in just a simple analogy does in terms of being able to protect her from ensuring that she has an ATM now that kind of permanently guarantees that the plans, the ambitions, the bills, and everything are paid for. So in this sense, now there's a solution called Pro-Life. And it's meant to protect a family's financial lifestyle, even when the breadwinner or the other person is not there. And to build on to the question that you had asked Ivy earlier on, the why. So for us, each person took theirs. And whenever I say this, people really get shocked. They say like, even your wife took one. Okay, show me your ways, master. Yes. So that's a conversation for another day. But we each took one. And our why was very clear. One is in the event one of us is not there today, there's a percentage that each one of us put on the table, it will be gone. So we were trying to mitigate family lifestyle in the short term before they leave the nest. But at the very core of it, as a man, one of the deep-seated desires I have is to leave a worthy inheritance for my kids that will last generations. Not just for my immediate kids, but that will last generations. So I was thinking about inheritance and then I was thinking about legacy. So the reason why we both of us took, it's so that in the event that today I'm not there, she has money to run the home. But hers then becomes the one that gets inherited to the kids, assuming she goes at old age, or vice versa, because we really never know who will go first. So that's what pro-life does. Some of the key features that attracted me to this particular solution, one, is the fact that the cover lasts for the rest of my life. So it doesn't matter at what point it pays upon my demise, but it doesn't matter at what point. So it pays a lump sum amount. But the icing on the cake for me was the fact that I have a predefined premium payment period. So let me put that into context. I will only pay for 10 years. And 10 years is such a short time. It's such a short time. I had Ivy saying, when I was working, there was no social media. So that's way back. Those are kind of like two presidential terms, pun intended. But then within 10 years, I only fund the premiums, I stop paying, but I'm covered for the rest of my life. Meaning that I have kind of like a premium payment period that I will focus my funds now to protect my family for the rest of my life. But after 10 years, I can repurpose that money to go towards either building up my retirement plan or other investments or something else. So the kind of like the younger you are when you take this, then it means that you finish paying for it earlier and you have other things to take care of in other seasons of your life. Secondly, it has a discretionary bonus that is given every month, every year at the end of your policy anniversary that kind of grows your sum assured. So for example, if I took a cover of 20 million, after 1 year, because we've given about 2.5%, after 1 year, you find that my sum assured has grown by 500,000. So it kind of helps to hedge against inflation. Then the next year, it grows by another 500,000. So in 2 years' time, instead of 20, I have 21. So it kind of helps to hedge against inflation. And it has other certain living benefits that comes with it that I think we can get to unpack as we progress. But the very main core bit of it is that one, it protects my investment pillar, the money that I've been investing, the stocks, the money markets, real estate, so that if today I'm not there, they don't have to sell things in panic, so that they leave. So it cushions, it steps in. So that's the ATM that replaces my income and then just runs for the rest of my life. And the cover is until your very last breath. So that's kind of like a summary of how it works in a family setup. And even for a young person, which maybe I might mention, is that it kind of helps to cushion your parents. Well, in the event of premature death, then you still get to provide that black tax while you are away.
I love that. I love that, Silas. Thank you so much. So one thing it is that I'm getting is that this solution lasts the rest of your life, which is so important because things could change. And the other thing is that has come out very strong is you pay for a specific time period, but you're covered for the rest of your life, which is the one thing that also really attracted me to this solution because most whole life covers people have to pay until the age of 80. But my biggest question is, if I've retired at 60, what am I doing paying premiums between 60 and 80? And the thing is that people age differently. Some people, cannot continue, can't walk, but others lose their memory. So my family will not get the inheritance just because I can no longer pay the premiums anymore. Right. But I think now we'll go deeper into that because another very important question we will have to tackle, Silas, is now fully understanding the living benefits because we have people who are not planning to ever have kids, people who are
Yes.
child free, right? By choice. And I've met quite a number of individuals, and they keep on saying that as people in the industry, we keep on just talking about children, children, children. But what about talking to the couples who are not planning to have children ever, and maybe even are not taking care of anybody? Maybe you can just touch a bit on that, on how is
Yeah.
it that they are benefiting. You can touch a bit on now the living benefits, and why will someone who is never planning to have kids take up
Mhm.
pure life cover and a whole life at that? Because maybe like we're not really having the inheritance conversation per se, unless maybe someone, I always keep on saying that I wish I had that rich auntie who put me as a beneficiary, yeah, and left me yeah. But what is it that they can benefit right now when they're still alive?
Okay. Okay, awesome. So the other features of this particular solution is the fact that it's got what we call living benefits. I like to baptize it as income replacement features of the product. So your normal day intake, and there's some cash flow that comes in. And then out of the cash flow, you get to do investments. Um, you pump in money in your shares into the different things that you do to build out. Then now, one of the key things that we need to appreciate is the fact that your wealth building journey is pegged on your ability to make money. So financial specialists say that there are three pillars of wealth management. They say one is income. That pillar one is income, about how you make money. Number two is asset growth. So how do you build your assets from the income that you make? The number three is protection. Now, all these two depend on your ability to make a living. So your income is the key factor here. So as a young person who does not have a family, you've got goals, you've got ambitions, and then there's time. And then there's time. So you've built maybe 3 million, 4 million, and you're on a roll. And then, God forbid, life is seasonal. It takes an unfortunate turn and you're diagnosed with a critical illness or a severe illness where then money is required. So you have your health cover, but your health cover has got a sub-limit on critical illness. So health cover gives you access to hospitals on credit, but doesn't give you money. So once you bust that limit, then the default is to go the pay bill way. The default is to go the pay bill way. In fact, we like to say that majority of us are a severe illness away to a pay bill number. So what these living benefits do is, in the event of a severe illness, we can pay up to a maximum of 20 million in cash. Then this money gives you immediate access to hospital. But that's the least of the benefits. For me, the fact that you can be paid anything between 1 million to 20 million as a lump sum helps to cushion the progress that you have been building as an individual on your wealth building journey, meaning that then you don't have to liquidate your money markets, you don't have to sell your assets at a loss as a young person so that you can get treatment. So this cushions you, it's the buffer. This is the airbag that takes care of you and your investments. So it's a double-edged sword. So it takes care of your investments, but also give you access immediately to quality healthcare. Now, worse still, in fact, I say for me, death is the easier conversation. Death is a gift because I'm no longer there. I no longer have bills. I can't think, I can't feel. But then as a young person, God forbid if then I'm totally and permanently disabled, I've got more years to live. I've got more years to live. I've got more ambitions that I will live knowing that maybe I'm not able to. Maybe if you lose your job or you close your business because you cannot be able to perform the normal duties of running your business or going to work and you're terminated on medical grounds. So again, we also pay up to the tune of 20 million shillings in cash. So that gives you a softer landing in terms of being able to tweak your lifestyle to change a couple of things. And when you talk to investment experts, and I know through these platforms, you're able to be exposed to different people and what they're doing. This lump sums amount, you can be in a position to be able to to put them in an investment where you can live off the interests. It's kind of like you've set up your own endowment, you can live off the interests. So at the very heart and the core of this particular solution around the living benefits for those who don't have family, and also for those with family, because it cuts across, for me, is the fact that you can you can protect the progress that you have already made in your investment journey. You don't have to go back to square zero when you get better. So protecting that just that progress. Yeah.
I love that, Silas. I'll just give a very short example, then I go back to Ivy. We had a case where someone got diagnosed with breast cancer. And because she had a life cover, like she had taken the whole life, which had the living benefits of the critical illness, she received the lump sum. And she told nobody about it. Like the only people who got to know about the critical illness was literally her direct family members. Because think about it, the moment you get a critical illness, I think, as Silas has said, it feels like it can be worse compared to dying, because a critical illness, you're in so much pain. And then now you have to look for people to help you raise money. And again, you can never know, and that part is not predictable. Now, for her, what she did is her medical cover came through to the extent that it could, because medical cover is also limited. And then when the life cover, the critical illness benefit, was paid out, she was able to now use that amount of money to replace her income, because she can no longer go back to work. Because if you get breast cancer and now you're trying to, it's going to be hard. You have to think about your healing journey. So she got the amount of money. She used that money also to go out of the country, because also if you have a local medical cover, you cannot fly with it outside the country. Yeah. So that amount of money was used to cater for the bills in the house, and then also now to help her with treatment. And eventually she was declared cancer free without people knowing. Yeah. So it gives that level of dignity. So whether you have children, no children, you are in business, you are employed, it does not matter. You still have a life that requires to be taken care of. And a critical illness will not come and knock on your door and ask, oh, are you married with children? It can get to anyone. So it's important to just make sure that you're also protecting your own life, no matter what, especially now with the critical illness benefit. So I'd like now to jump back to Ivy,
Wait,
for her
wait.
to.
Before we
Yes.
jump back, I want,
Yes.
because I'm hearing big numbers, 20 million.
Yes.
We're able to, so how much do I need to put aside as a premium for me to get a sum assured of 20 million? Please
I,
break
I,
that down
I
for
think
me. Yeah.
Silas, you can do that. I think you have the numbers already, so you can share with us how those numbers look
How
like.
do I-
So
Yeah.
let me give an example with one policy that I have. Yeah, one of my first policies, because I have a couple. So my first one, I'm paying about 9,000 per month for a 15 million shilling cover. So that means if I drop down dead today, my family gets 15 million minimum, because it's not even included the bonuses that, Silas has spoken about. So that is my cover. And I took it when I was, I think, 30. Yeah. So that amount, I think Silas can be able to share with us numbers, because these
Yeah.
policies can start anywhere from like 3,000. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think for me the biggest shock is that Marianne is above 30. But allow me just to share. Let me share my screen so that I can show the different ages. And then we can look at now the numbers. Just a second. Okay. Confirm that you can see my screen. Awesome. Cool. So this is just a demo that will show the different, so the same cover, different ages. So you've got a 25-year-old, you've got a 35-year-old, 45-year-old, 50-year-old, and 60-year-old. Just to show you, for the same amount of cover. So we are looking at a 5 million life cover, and I know those numbers look scary. And with a 2.5 million critical illness and a 2.5 million disability or accidental cover. So for a 25-year-old person, per month, they end up paying 5,000 shillings, 178, right? Now, for a 35-year-old, so this is someone who's 10 years older, they end up paying 6,445. So you can see how the premium shifts. And then for a 45-year-old, so that jumps up to 10,152. And then for a 50-year-old, again, it jumps to 13,370. And then for a 60-year-old, it jumps up to 29. This is almost 30,000. So you can see at the age of 25, you're paying 5,000 shillings. At the age of 60, which is the maximum entry age, you're paying 30,000. So the older you are, the more expensive it becomes. So it's quite affordable. And these premiums can go as low as 3,000 shillings because we look at something like age, maybe lifestyle, if you're a smoker and such. But this is just an indicative of someone who would want to pay 5,000 shillings. This is kind of like tells you where you fall in depending on your age, or if you're looking, let's say, for a 5 million cover. And maybe just to share now, someone who would want to pump in, say, something slightly more. So same age range, 25 all the way to 60, but now they're paying 20,000. So everybody is paying 20,000. So the first example was for someone for a 5 million cover across the ages. Now we are looking at 20,000 shillings is the common denominator across all ages. And we are saying that for 20,000 for a 25-year-old, they end up getting 33.5 million worth of cover. 33.5 million worth of cover for 20K. Now, for a 35-year-old, they end up getting 26. For a 45, they end up getting 15.7 million. For a 50-year-old, they end up getting 11.5 million. And for a 60-year-old, they get 6.1 million. Now, I want us to appreciate the difference in time and the difference in the cover amount. So for someone who's 25 to 35, they're getting between 33 and 26 million. But as you get to your 50s and 60s, this number significantly reduces. So that should help us to start to appreciate the numbers and to start to appreciate that there's normally a narrative where people say, let me wait. Ngoja kidogo, and then I will come back to have this conversation. I think that paints a picture in terms of what that looks like with age. Now, the oxymoron of life is that the older you get, the more likely more money you will make, and the less of it you will have. The older you get, the more money you make, and the less of it you have. Marianne. I don't know whether, Ivy, that responds to the question you had raised.
Does, but you're just going to leave us with that cliffhanger. The more money on the
Yes. So,
comedian.
so what that basically means is this.
Yeah.
When you're younger, you maybe perhaps are earning 70, 100 Gs and or 50 Gs, and you're thinking one day I'd like to make 300, and then you get there. But then life has seasons. So as you make more money, then you start to move. You move from your bed sitter, you decide, I think I need more space. You go to a one bedroom, so your cost has gone up. You're adjusting your costs according to the extra money that you're making. In fact, I like to say that your brain is creative enough to create extra expenses for the extra money that you make. Now, either family checks in or other things checks in, and as you make more money, you keep on adjusting. All of a sudden, you just start to realize where I stay. It's so insecure. Oh my God, how have I survived here the last 8 years? I need a safer place. Now you move to a different neighborhood. Now your expenses jump up. That's what I'm saying. And then you have things like school fees. You're feeding more mouths. Now you're married or not. You're having neighbors. You've got people who are coming from Ushago when they need to go to college in Nairobi and everything else that comes in between there. So indeed, you're making more money, but then your expenses are higher with age. So you find that there's no need to wait. Waiting really doesn't help a lot of people. You can be able to flex a bit as you grow older, but start early. It's always better to start early because you also take advantage of the benefit of compounded interest. I hope now I've unhanged you.
Clear. Lifestyle inflation.
Yes.
Understood.
Yeah. No, I love that, Silas. But the other thing people should also note is when you are younger, you have less illnesses. People don't also put into consideration that you could have accumulated illnesses in your 40s. Maybe now you have high blood pressure and, cholesterol, which you did not have when you're in your 20s. So that's another thing we are facing also, that people at that stage can afford more. But the problem is now you have pre-existing conditions which could actually affect your premium. So I always say just even secure something small when you're younger, because the moment you're in, the insurer cannot kick you out. Yeah. But now the biggest problem is now when you're trying to come in and then now you have maybe a lot of many different conditions, the premiums could go higher because your life insurance is dependent, yes, on your age, but also your health. So that is important to put into consideration. And the one thing I think I'll ask you, Silas, before we jump back to Ivy, is people are asking, what is the ideal level of cover? Because, when it comes to investment, we are always told to start with the end in mind. So I want an income maybe of 300, 400,000 per month. Then I go back and now pick assets which could be able to do that for me. So when it comes to protection as well and life cover, what is the ideal number that I should be looking at? So right now I am taking care of two children and maybe my income is 500,000 per month or 300,000 per month. What exactly do I need in terms of life cover? And can I start small and then build up to that?
Okay. So I'll answer this in two folds. One is that I always recommend that run away from anyone who comes with a number in mind. It will be a very painful experience for you. So it's supposed to be more from an advisory point of view. We look at where you are at, what are your needs, what are your gaps in terms of what is the exposure, and then now we're able to do the math based on your situation. So it's kind of like a situational kind of calculations based on where you are at. Now, the second part of it is I'll use your example of someone who has got two kids and you've got certain bills that you're running. Now, and this is specific to the family-oriented person or anyone who has got dependents that depend on them. So either family or parents or relatives or anyone that every month they live off you, they depend on your provision. So what we normally do is we say the amount of cover you take should be at least 10 times your annual salary. Should be at least 10 times your annual salary. So let me paint that picture. So for example, if today, Miriam, you're earning 100,000 shillings a month. So 100,000 is what? Is per year is 1.2 million, right? Now, you need, so per year is 1.2 million. So 10 times of 1.2 million is 12 million. So what is the science behind the 10 times of your annual income is we are saying if today we pay out the 12 million, to the person who you have nominated as a beneficiary, the advice normally is you take this amount and lock it in an interest bearing instrument. Let me repeat that. You take the lump sum amount that will be paid out and lock it in an interest-bearing instrument. So this could be a bond, could be you could negotiate with a wealth manager and what we call the wealth funds, where every year you are guaranteed at least 10% of the total amount you've invested. So if you do the math backwards, so 10% of the 12 million is 1.2 million, which is again your annual salary. So the way I've designed my life cover is in such a way that if today I'm not there, my wife has got instructions as to where to put the money, lock it at 10%, then every year I'm able to provide for my family. My annual salary, in fact, is advantageous because they get my salary upfront for the whole year and they can live off, that provision for a long time without affecting the overall payment. Without affecting the overall payment. So that's one way to look at it as far as family is concerned. Now, for the other way, when you want to look at numbers, allow me just to say, when I'm having this conversation with business people also, because they also buy this solution as business partners. So if you're a business partner, let's say the three of us, so Ivy, Munyino and I are business partners and we each have got 100 million into a business, or let's say 5 million, 5 million into a business. Let me just say 5 million, 5 million into a business. Now, if today one of us goes, we are guaranteed that our beneficiaries will come and knock on this business door and say, there's some money that we know that was here to the tune of X. Now, most businesses can't pay out and survive. So what business people do is the business itself, let's call it company X, insures the three of us to the tune of 5 million, to the tune of our shareholding each, such that if today I'm gone, the business is able to pay off my wife the 5 million, and then the business retains my shares. So it's kind of like a buy-off. So a couple of things happen there. One, we have a number in terms of what my family can get. So my family is protected. But two, I have protected Ivy's family, I have protected Mnyendo's family, and I have protected the business. So there's continuity all the way. So those are the different scenarios that you can be able to look at in terms of when you're trying to come up with a number. But often then you find someone who says, okay, Silas, I can see I need 30 million, for example, or 10 million worth of a cover. However, I can only afford 5,000 shillings. So can you top up? Yes. You can always top up your cover because we say that no one can put a value to a human life. You can't say your life is worth 10 million, 5 million, 10 bob. The only thing we tell you is don't leave it at zero. And as seasons changes, as your business grows, as your hustle grows, as your salary grows, or your responsibilities grow, then you have the ability, it's flexible enough, you have the ability to top up or to take another one to top it up because there's no limit as to how much you can be able to take these particular policies or these particular covers. Now, I'll close this by saying this that taking a life cover is also not a question of how much wealth you have built up, your level of wealth, because I talk a lot about wealth protection, and maybe perhaps someone is thinking, what if I have not started building wealth? So buying protection is not a question of your level of wealth, but it's a question of responsibility. So it's not about the level of wealth, but it's a question of responsibility. So if you have responsibility, then this is a decent conversation to engage in if you already have not.
Thank you. Thank you, Silas. So I think we have gone through a thorough masterclass those last few minutes when it comes to just protection in general. Thank you for making that clear, especially when it comes to the numbers, because a lot of people think that insurance is extremely expensive or is for a particular type of people. But we're here to tell everyone that you all need insurance, and also you can get what it is that you can afford at that time. As I said, when I started with the amount that was comfortable to me. But now when my responsibilities increased, and as Ivy mentioned, lifestyle inflation, your children maybe were going to a particular school, now you have upgraded them. I keep on telling people that, you're paying international school fees without international school life insurance. Yeah. With the type of cover that people have, in case anything was to happen, someone is not able to take your children to school for even the next 2 years. So it's important now to always go back and not also now try to look for the cheapest option as well. It's good, just as Silas has said, go back to your needs. You understand your family best. You know your children are used to a particular school. They go for holiday, international holiday once a year, and you want to ensure that lifestyle continues no matter what. So don't make them used to that type of lifestyle, and yet you have not backed it up with a proper protection plan that is going to ensure continuity of that lifestyle. So it's important to always start with the end in mind. You understand your family best, you understand your situation best, and yes, you can start small, because the reason why I'm mentioning this is we are finding people who are taking that. A few days ago, I did a review where someone is taking their children to school 2.5 million a year, but the level of cover they had was 5 million. So that means in case they were to transition, the child just goes to school for the next 2 years. We've not even put into consideration rent. And, for, I don't know about other parents, but now every day I'm hearing there's swimming gear I need to buy. They want to join golf. I don't know. There's just many different things that our children are coming to ask us for. Yeah. So it's important to just make sure that the life cover you're taking is matching that lifestyle. So back to Ivy. I want you to, now we are wrapping up and now going into the questions. I want you to now tell us from your perspective, if someone is in this room who is investing aggressively and building wealth and has not put any sort of protection in place, what would you honestly tell them based on the conversation we have had today? Now, from someone who is in the investment journey and someone who's also a parent and you're looking into the future.
I tell them, congratulations, good job. Like, you're doing well. Don't let these insurance people pressure you guys. Like, I would say that you have taken, if you're already investing but you don't have insurance, you have taken a certain step towards funding a secure future in one way. The only thing I would add on is it's like building a house. You start with the foundation. And before I started investing, I started with the foundation of building an emergency fund and having my life insurance. So Silas loves to put it, and I think he puts it very well, so that I could protect my progress. So the thing with investing, you progress little by little every day, every month, every year. But what happens if one catastrophic life event comes in and completely rubbishes your progress? So I would say you're doing well. Good job. Congratulations. Take your time now to set up a better foundation so that the progress that you've made over the years or over the months is taken care of. Yeah.
Marianne, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. Thank you for that, Ivy. And I love that, we are looking at where it is that we are. We should not be too hard on ourselves. It's important to look at the progress that we have made so far. And right now, with the knowledge it is that you have, you can now make decision from a place of knowledge. Because I think sometimes what we see is that people blame themselves a lot, which is also unfair to yourself. You have done so much. If you've already set up a money market fund account, you're putting your funds in a circle, you've taken any financial step, you have done so much, yeah, in this journey. So it's important now to first of all acknowledge where it is that you are, even if now you're someone who has taken out a policy which at this point in time maybe you feel that it was not what you wanted. You also did make a decision, and from a good place. Yeah. So don't be hard on yourself. Right now it's just to be like, okay, this is where it is that I am. This is the knowledge that I have. Now let me go back and see what next. So thank you so much for that wisdom, Ivy, and taking us down that direction and being very open with us. Guys, you let us know how you felt about, this whole conversation. And now, shortly, I'm going to go into the questions because I know Silas, you've seen the questions that we need to be able to answer here. And so that we can be able, as people are living there, are living with that level of clarity. But thank you so much for your time, Ivy. It's always a pleasure just having this conversation with you. Now, Silas, yes, now we have to answer a lot of these questions. There's quite a number.
All
We
right.
have, so I'm going to be throwing them at you, and you're going to answer them for us because as we promised people, you are here to answer all the tough questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Ivy has taken us through her journey. Now people have questions. Maybe people have been able to see the gaps in their own journeys and they want to figure out how they can be able to close those gaps, and they need more information to be able to close those gaps. First question someone had asked, especially now as a couple, is it better to take joint cover or to take separately? What will make more sense and why?
Okay. So this maybe perhaps is to just to let everyone know that this cover you can be able to take it as a joint life or separately. Meaning joint life meaning that both you and your spouse can be covered under one cover, and one life tends to be discounted. One life tends to be discounted. Now, um, so is it better to take as a joint or as a separate? Now, the advantage of taking as a joint is that one life is discounted, but then I will take you back to the why. At the very core, at the very beginning of this conversation, one of the things that Ivy mentioned, and even when she was sharing about her experience, is you must understand the why, the reason why you are taking this. What are you solving for? So I will default back to my example. We had two core reasons as a family to take up a life cover. One, inheritance planning. Two, to mitigate in case life takes an unfortunate turn and we either one of us is not there, we were covering each other. And maybe just to say three is in the event of income loss as a result of either severe illness or a total disability. Now, if we took one as a joint cover, I would have saved a few coins, granted. However, the way the joint cover works is if we have been paying, say, for 5 years and one of us drops dead, then the policy pays out the lump sum amount and it matures, stops to exist. We have already paid, so it has done its job. Well and good. Thank you, Prudential. So the family secured. Awesome. Fantastic. But then now the family is facing a different kind of challenge because they had ambitions to leave an inheritance. And 5 years down the line is not when I was planning to leave an inheritance. So the structure of the cover is such that for me, it needed to take care of the immediate and it needed to take care of the future, long term. So that's the reason for us now, we decided we take separately so that in the event one of us goes, then we take care of the immediate and the other person, theirs can become what they take as part of the long-term structure.
Okay.
So at the point of having this conversation, perhaps what I can recommend is when you're having that one-on-one is to get to unpack and understand your why, then it's easier to know which one to recommend.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Silas. Again, you can talk to a prudential agent to be able to now maybe answer these questions. Or Silas is here. I'm also here to be able to answer any of your questions. And just as I said, to just make sure that you're making the right decision. Another question, because people want to understand, I think most people have, when they think of life insurance, it's always the endowment that they have in mind because that's what they know. So someone is asking, say I pay premiums for 15 years as a 25-year-old. I'm starting young. I love this purity. When I get to 40, God willing and alive, will the sum assured be paid out? So we want it to be very clear, when does this pay out, so that it comes out clearly the difference between an endowment or education policy and a whole life cover. So Purity is asking, does it pay out? And if yes, does the contract end? And are there any more benefits? So let it be very clear the difference between an education endowment policy and a whole life. That now because we know with an education or endowment policy at the 15 years and you're still alive, there's a lump sum payout that is done. But we know that is not the case with Pro Life in general. Maybe you can explain.
Okay. Okay, so I'll respond to this using the analogy of the three pillars of wealth management. So one of them is the accumulation pillar. So this is the pillar that everybody focuses on. So how do I make money? So that's why you have investments that have got maturity periods. I've put money here in 5 years, it will mature, I'll get X. I've put money here, I can trade with, I can get some capital gain, etc., etc. So when it comes to insurance policies, then those are savings. They are not investments. Those are savings. So the savings that are lumped up with an investment. So that's what we call endowments or the savings plans. So you save for 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years, and the end of the term, then there's a payout that you are given. Now, the conversation today was not about the first pillar. It was about the second pillar, which is the protection pillar. So this particular solution, it's a pure protection. It does not have a maturity cash back to you at the end of the premium payment period, right? So what it does have is one, it pays a lump sum amount in the event of death. So that amount goes to your loved one, goes to the people who you've nominated as a beneficiary. So that also takes us back to the why, the reason why you're taking it. So it has to make sense because the question that we try to answer there is who is bound to suffer financial loss if today you are not there? So that's why I said it's about responsibility. It's not about the level of wealth. Now, two, for you so that's what we call the death benefit. Now, for the living benefit, for you, Purity, who is building wealth and you're building all this pipeline of wealth and you want money at let's say by the time you're having an early retirement at 50 or whatever, the living benefits for you in this solution is it pays a lump sum to you now directly in the event of diagnosis of a critical illness. And there are 18 of them: cancer, paraplegia, major organ transplant, renal failure, blindness, etc. So it pays a lump sum amount up to the tune of 20 mil or up to the tune of 20 mil in case of total permanent disability. That's money to you. So what that does then, it helps you to adjust, it helps you to protect the progress you have made in terms of building your wealth, but it doesn't necessarily have like a maturity amount that you get when you clock to 40 years. Yeah, so it only pays the life cover itself. It's called a whole of life, meaning that you on cover until the last day. That's when you drop dead, that's when now it pays out a lump sum amount. My recommendation would be if you're looking for something that has got a maturity value, and I can see you're very specific when I get to 40 years, then I recommend that you revisit the conversation around financial planning so that then we see what instrument is ideal for you for that goal that you're aiming at the age of 40, so that there's no mismatch between the goal and the solution.
I love that, Silas. And maybe one thing which I could add, because I can see that is quite a hot question. What do I get when I'm alive? I am. So I always say that when you look at the pillars of wealth management in general, if you want something for yourself, just invest. Put that money in an investment, because that investment can be able to fund your lifestyle. Please keep protection out of the investment conversation. Because the moment, if you want to, minimize the cost and maximize the benefit and get value for your money, just use protection. Yeah. If you want to strictly protect, because the moment you mix the two, they can be, you won't get the best of both worlds. If you want to enjoy, like the reason why I say that, to me, it's given me mental real estate when I do the insurance and protection for my children, is so that I can do my investments here and enjoy my money when I'm alive. Yeah, I also want to enjoy my money. It's not everything. Okay, yes, I love my children, but I also I'm here. I need to enjoy my time here, right? So this is why I put my money in my investments that I feel like is my money. If something happens, yes, we do enjoy together with my kids, but if something happens, at least I know that there's protection on the side, and there's this money which can take me maybe to trips or just for me to enjoy my lifestyle. Invest to take care of your lifestyle. If you want money in the next 15 years, you can build an investment portfolio that can be able to cater for that. Then don't mix it with insurance, please. Yeah, this is where things get mixed up, and you can get very disappointed because of the numbers. If it's protection, protect. If it's growth, just invest. Yeah, just have both portfolios. Have your investment portfolio and have your protection portfolio. Another question is regarding cash value. So I want it also to be very clear, because when people were introduced to whole life covers, most of the time they read content from the US or UK. So we do understand that whole life covers outside the country have some cash value. So it's like almost an endowment policy for the rest of your life. But the ones here in Kenya do not have that. They like, especially now in this case, Pru Life, because with us now having it as a pure life cover, that's when you can really, really minimize the cost and maximize the benefit. So make it very clear for us, Silas, that how does this one look like? Does this have cash value? Or yeah, maybe you can explain a bit further, because someone asks here, can I borrow against this policy? Yeah, I know where it is that they're coming from, because a lot of policies out there in the US, when someone gets a whole life cover, it has the investment component. Yeah, so it looks like it's a longer term endowment policy. So maybe you can explain further.
Okay. So it doesn't have a cash value, and you cannot borrow against it. However, however, you can use it as credit life. You can assign it to a financier, a bank. So for example, if you're taking a loan, let's say a loan or a mortgage, one of the things you're required to do is to take credit life if you're taking a mortgage from a bank, so that in the event of your death, then the bank is able to cover its liabilities. So what normally happens with a credit life or a mortgage protector is that, let's say you've taken a mortgage worth 20 million, the bank will sell you a cover worth 20 million, a mortgage protector worth 20 million. So every month and every year as you pay, as you reduce your loan at the renewal of the mortgage protector, you reduce also the insurance amount, so that by the time you are done paying the insurance, you're done paying for and when you're done paying for the mortgage, you're done paying for the insurance. So at the end of your mortgage payment period, you will have the house, but then whatever you're paying for the insurance, EMA and I, so you kind of like, thank God, okay, I'm good, but I have the house. So what we have done is we have enabled this particular policy for you to be able to assign it to a bank. So you don't have to pay for another one. So you give the rights of the benefits to the bank, so that then if it's a 20 million cover and the mortgage is 20 million, so that as you reduce your mortgage, your insurance level remains the same. So it's still always higher. So in the event of death in between clearing the mortgage, we will pay what is owed to the bank, so that the house remains with your family, then the balance goes to your family. Now, because we're optimistic people, you go through the entire mortgage payment period, you are done, you end up with kind of like having two assets. You have your house and you have your life cover still intact. So you kind of have already built onto your wealth. So that's one of the ways to look at it. So you can't take a loan from it, but you can leverage it as credit life so that you can be able to get financing from an institution, from a bank.
I love that, Silas. I'd never looked at it from that angle. By the way, it means then if you have lived the whole maybe 15 years of the time of your mortgage, it means that you will have the house and at the same time you will have the life cover, which you've already finished paying for. So you have two
Yes.
assets. So eventually this cover is going to be paid out when you transition. So it comes in
Mm.
as an inheritance for
Mhm.
your family. And just to add on top of that is one thing it is that I learned from one of my my older clients when I started this journey is they say that the reason why they take these policies, because these are people who already have enough money as it is, but I realize people with money also want more money. Yeah. So for him, he
Mhm.
looked at it as additional money into the family pot, not necessarily him.
Mhm.
So they used to come to us and tell us, I'm planning for 4 generations. That thing stretched my mind. I'd never known that there's a thing that someone can sit down with us and tell us, I'm planning for 4, 5 generations. So what they used to do is put life cover on each and every family member so that when one transition, there's money always in the pot because they said every single family member has a value. So the worst thing is when someone passes away, they pass away with their IP, they pass away with their skill sets. What is going to replace this income? So what they used to do is to put a life cover on everybody's head because they used to believe that people in the family were the biggest assets. So when someone passes away, 100 million goes into the family. And you can imagine if every family
Mhm.
member has that, it means it's so much easier to get to 1 billion eventually. Because
Yeah.
even as you looked at the numbers that Silas was showing, when you compare the amount of money you're going to put in versus the amount of money which eventually will be paid out, this is why a lot of these wealthy people do this. And these covers have been there for quite some time. It's just that a lot of us have never really been speaking about it because when we think of life cover, we're thinking it from a death angle. When people are here making generational wealth, creating generational wealth out of these life covers. So I
Yeah.
can see Meredith who says her biggest blessing was having a cover younger. She took hers at 26. Congratulations,
Wow.
Marilyn.
Wow.
And then a question, what would you say about a company that gives you an overview of the products and gives and tells you after the first premium okay, so more or less, give us a bit of feedback, or you can just let us know what people should expect after now they sign up. And also, maybe you can also tell us about the window period, because most people don't know that you have some time
Mhm.
before you can actually cancel your policy if it doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
Because remember, the contract is between you and the insurer, not you and your agent. Your agent can sell you the moon and the stars. But at the end of the day, please go back to your contract. You know, the way you read your employment contract, go to that insurance contract with the same energy. Yeah, because
Mhm.
the worst thing is you've taken up something that is so long term. I don't think you understand the long term nature of this policy. So you need
Mhm.
to make sure that you've made the right decision. So maybe you can let us know, Silas, when someone should, maybe the process and
Okay.
when someone should expect the contract and what
Mhm.
they should look out for and how long do they have before they can actually cancel this cover.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So I'll make the assumption that the conversation has taken place. So you've shared the advisory, whatever it is that you're looking for, and you've come up with a number and everything. So you've done the proposal form, and everything has gone through. Now, what happens with Prudential is that once the business is accepted, um, automatically, once you've made payment and the biz and we place you on cover, the system automatically sends you a contract, what you call the policy document. So it sends it to your email. Now, traditionally, when we began, we said I've got 2 decades of experience. So when we used to do it back then, in the 1913, we used to deliver the policy document by hand. And there used to be a lot of gap around there. Sometimes you forget when you're changing houses, maybe 8 years down the line, I find that I had the policy document for Ivy, but these days it's automated. It comes straight to your email address. So if you have not received your policy document, immediately you are told that you're placed on cover, then ask your advisor to have the company send you one because it's supposed to be automated. So once you have that, you have a window of 30 days. You have a window of 30 days to review the document. So take time. Within 30 days, I'm sure you can find time one day and it's not even a full day. Just review, study, read, circle, ask questions, call your advisor, ask them questions. If you still feel like you're not getting a satisfactory answer, I always recommend anyone who's bought insurance to randomly walk into the company where they bought insurance, sit at the customer service, and just ask your questions. Get to hear for yourself, what is this that you have? Come say, hey, my name is Silas. I've got a policy with you guys. I took it some time back. I can't remember. But also when you're new and you need some clarity, you can always just walk in, sit at the customer service, let them get to explain to you, or just reach out to your agent, get to tell you. So within the 30 days, if you find that what was sold to you and what is on the document are two worlds apart, you can cancel that policy and get a refund of your premium. It's called the is it the cool off period? It's called the cool off period, right? So you have a 30-day window to do that. Then after 30 days, then now, if you cancel of that, then it's treated like a cancellation. So it's always important that you read. But outside of the cool off period, for me, what I like to recommend is just like when you have a title deed. Once I was advised by my lawyer and told me, if you own land, every year, do a search. Every year do a search to confirm that is still yours. So if you have a policy, regardless the type of policy that you hold, every year take time to just walk into the company and find out and try to refresh yourself, to remind yourself why you have it. Then that will stop you from having that mindset that Ndote was talking about, that you've got kids who you're paying 2.5 million. You took a policy, you're paying 5,000 or 3,000 because you took it in your early 20s. Life has shifted. So when you do regular reviews, it gives you perspective in terms of how much protection you have and how much protection gap has grown with you over time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that, Silas. I'm going to throw this at Ivy. Ivy, maybe you could let me know when it comes to your cover, how often, did you go through your terms and conditions? And how often do you check? Because I know when it comes to investments, I don't know if you have the way we were told to have, a money date with yourself where you look through what it is that you have and make sure that it's up to date. How often do you do yours regarding your protection to just make sure you're still up to date and everything is as you wanted it to be?
Well, clearly not as often as I should be. I took this thing a long time ago, read those terms a long time ago. So I probably should go back. I probably should go back. It's the
Ivy, I
same way
should
I
find
told
you
you
my
guys my
attempt.
piece of land. I should go back and check. No, and I even have to check, now I have to search to see if it's no,
Yeah.
but truly, honestly, the
Yeah.
last time I checked, I think was maybe 2 years ago, because it's been automated to
Yes.
leave my accounts every
Uh,
5th of the month for the past 10 years. So you're
yes.
right. I definitely need to go back and see, hey, what's going on here? I
Ivy,
just know the amount. I know that I'm assured. And even when Silas was like, you need to X your annual income, I was like, oh God, I need to increase my premiums. This session was
yes.
really funny, actually. Thanks. Thanks.
Ivy, I'm going to look for you in my attempt. You see,
Yeah, you're
imagine.
embarrassing me.
I am,
You're my
you're
insurance
just like,
person, and you're here. I'm embarrassing myself in front of my
now this cannot happen. I'm going to look for you after this. Pole, son. Thank you, Ivy. And then I don't know if there's any more questions. I think there's someone who asked what are the illnesses that are covered, which is also important to know. Silas did touch on them a bit because before Prudential used to cover 7 illnesses and then it was expanded to 18 illnesses, which is I think the highest in the market, if I'm not wrong. So maybe Silas, you can just give us a rundown of the illnesses that are covered, just quickly, so people know. And then another question someone has asked is, if my critical illness cover is paid out, will it affect my sum assured, the inheritance to my kids? So maybe you can answer both questions at a go. Yeah, as we are wrapping up.
I've got a notification that I'm muted, but instead of when muting, I started looking behind. Um, so now, I'll start with the last question. So the benefit for the life cover and the benefit for the critical illness and the benefit for the disability benefit are separate benefits. They are not linked to one another. They're independent of each other. So if we pay the critical illness, your life cover remains intact, it doesn't get affected. There are other variations of the same solution where the critical illness payment might affect the life cover. But in this instance, we're talking about a life cover where each of these benefits is independent of one another. And for me, that is important because I do not want my own health status to affect my deep-seated desire of making sure that my kids have got a stronger endowment factor in future and the generational wealth planning that I have done. So I would want all those things to be independent of one another. So that's the first answer. Secondly, here's a list of some of the actually the illnesses that are covered. One is accidental brain damage, Alzheimer's disease, you have aorta surgery, you have blindness, you have cancer, coma, coronary artery surgery. I can't believe I said that fluently. Heart attack, major organ transplant, motor neuron disease, multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, paraplegia, what you call total paralysis, Parkinson's disease, which we used to think that this thing is for the whites and it's for the rich. Parkinson's disease is also something. Renal failure, quite rampant in this country. Replacement of heart valve, rheumatoid arthritis before the age of 60. And lastly, stroke. Now, one of the statistics that we have received in the past is that Kenya in Africa has got one of the highest rates of cancer diagnosis. So what we really haven't been able to put a thumb to it is whether it's because we are more advanced in terms of being able to detect and the other countries are not, or that is actually the status. But in general, those are the 18 that are covered under the critical illness benefit.
Okay, awesome. So there's one very hot question
Yes.
that we've seen, and then maybe we could answer it together. Someone has asked, with life insurance is a fixed cost, but we know sometimes life happens. Yeah, you
Yes.
lose your job or COVID hit, and people, I think that's the time most policies were cancelled because you do not have a job and you still have to pay for these premiums. So what
Yes.
can someone do at this point in time to be able now to take care of that payment? Because we do understand with life cover, it's almost like a subscription. If you've not paid, you're not on cover. Yeah. So how to make sure that at that time, if an unforeseen circumstance happens, like I've lost my job, I did not see it happening, and or COVID has hit, another second COVID, and I can still continue paying these premiums. So I'll start on it, and then maybe Silas, if there's something you have to add, you can add on that. So what it is that we tell our clients when they're taking up a life cover is, number one, when you're taking up a life cover, make sure you have an emergency fund. Yeah. In the case life is to happen, you still have money that can be able to cater to this cost. So, when you're setting up your emergency fund, you put into consideration your rent money, your utilities. So life insurance has to be part of the things that you're putting into consideration when you're setting up your emergency fund, because we want to know that, okay, you've lost your job today. We don't want you to lose your cover, because what if you pass away within those 6 months that you have lost your job? And the worst part is now your people trying to go and claim, and they see that your policy has lapsed. So it's very important to just make sure that you have an emergency fund. Secondly, if you are an investor or you already are in your investment journey, you can pick one asset, and the job of that asset is to pay for your premiums. So we have quite a number of clients who have attached their bonds, their life insurance premium to their bonds. So they have calculated and they have bought a bond, which the moment the coupon is paid out, the coupon is used to pay the life insurance premium. Some have attached it to the SACCO dividends. Yeah. So they know that they receive their SACCO dividends maybe once a year. So approximate amount, even if they have to top up, it's not too much of an amount, so that you don't really have to think about it. And thirdly, obviously get something it is that you are comfortable. You don't stretch yourself too much to the extent that, okay, you're taking something that you cannot afford in case an unforeseen circumstance happens. So it's very, very critical to take care of that. But worst case scenario, sometimes it happens, but we do not recommend. You can reduce the premium that you're contributing. Yeah, it's not, we do not recommend that, but we're like, if all things fail, yeah, maybe Silas could add on that regarding unforeseen circumstances. Because the other, I think, additional thing which you can put into consideration is to choose a shorter term. Because with this Pro Life, you can pick 10 years, 15 years, even up to 65. We have some clients who want to pay up to 60 because, yes, the premium is lower, but remember, the payment period is pretty long. So it means anything could happen in between. So if you choose a shorter premium payment period, it means within 10 years, you've finished paying for this thing, but you're still on cover for the rest of your life. So when you're talking to your advisor, make sure that you're telling them all these fears that you have so that they can give you advice based on that. So even that can be a way to test on how your advisor is giving you advice, right? You can be able to know whether this is someone who understands what it is that they're doing. So it's very, very important to ask these questions that are bothering you. Silas, please let me know if there's anything else that you have to add there.
Okay, I'll just keep it short because I can see time is far much gone. And then we can wrap this up. So first thing is important for us to understand is, first of all, you've responded very well in terms of the emergency fund and an investment asset that funds it. Secondly, is that it's also important that you understand that the Pro-Life gives you a 90 days grace period from your last premium days. So in the event that any of the risk covered happens within the 90 days from your last premium payment, we will still honor to pay out, but we will deduct what is owed to us. But then after 90 days, the benefits drop. So what happens after the benefits have dropped? You have a window upon which within 24 months, or let's say 2 years, you can always come back and pay the arrears and we reinstate your benefits. Of course, there are some terms and conditions in there in terms of maybe there's a waiting period or something, or how much premium you need to pay. But once you clear the arrears, then we're able to reinstate your benefits. One of the other hacks that we've done is we've told people, especially people in business or the gig economies, pay annually. You can always pay annually, and when you pay annually, you get a discount, and that ensures that you don't have to think on a month payment. And when you get those lump sums, you can always front load and pay early to ensure that you don't fall behind. One of the buffers I've put for myself is that I've got a certain amount, 3 months worth of premiums that I've front paid for my policy, so that in case of anything, I lose my income, then I've got a 3 months, first of all, a head start before I can figure out things and jump into my emergency fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Silas. Let me take one last question because there's someone who asked, I think two people who've asked. People want to know how it is that you can connect your life insurance to your trust fund account, because someone has mentioned that someone asked, in case someone was to pass away, they were to pass away and their children are underage, it's important to know that your children will not receive this money, especially if they are under the age of 18. So they had a fear that what if the guardian misuses the funds? So usually the solution to this, we tell people you can connect it to a trust fund account so that the guardian does not receive the lump sum and they go buy themselves a Range Rover. Yeah. So it will be good that when that amount of money is paid out, you make the trust fund account the beneficiary. So you don't make your kids the beneficiary, because the moment you make your kids the beneficiary and you are to pass away, the money cannot go directly to the kids. It will go to the guardian, because in the application form, even in the Pro-Life application form, I wish we could be able to show it here, but now time is not on our side. If you've mentioned your children as the beneficiaries, it means you have to put a guardian if your children are under the age of 18. If you transition before your children have hit 18, it means the lump sum will go to your guardian. And we really hope and pray you picked a good guardian and the money will actually go to the kids. But if that is a fear, because you cannot really tell how someone will be with the money in the case you're not there, you can now make the trust fund the beneficiary, and the funds will be distributed according to your wishes. So if it's school fees, the money will be paid directly to the school. If it's medical insurance, the money will be paid directly to the insurer. And then when your children are of age, they will now have access to the trust fund money at that point in time. So it's just easy. When you have the life cover, all you just need to do is to now make the trust fund the beneficiary. If you have any questions, you can definitely ask me, or you can ask any other advisor to be able to guide you. So make sure that you're also following me at Le Risk Africa. Make sure you're following Prudential Kenya page as well. And you can be able to also send your questions there. So wherever it is that even if you have any more questions, you can definitely let us know. I think now we have run out of time. And all I want to say is thank you for joining us. I can't believe it's been 2 hours and majority of you are still here. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm going to just let Silas and Ivy say one last thing, and then we wrap it up and call it a day. But you are going to get this recording. Thank you so much.
All right, I'll let Ivy go first.
Mm.
She's been quiet for a while.
I have nothing to say. Just, I mean, thank you, Prudential, for the opportunity to speak today, and I wish everybody the best on their journeys towards wealth accumulation and protection.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. For me, my parting shot is that income builds wealth, assets grow wealth, protection secures wealth. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. This was an amazing session. And please don't forget to follow the Prudential page, the Prudential Kenya page. We are here to answer all your questions. As I said, you can also follow me at Le Risk Africa. I do share quite a bit of information there as well. And yes, let us get ourselves protected because you are your biggest asset. Have a lovely afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.